When Ava first saw him, he was just a dog sitting quietly by the war monument. Every evening, same place, same silent posture. But then she noticed something no one else had seen, a name carved beneath the others. Faint, hidden, the same name as her grandfather's. One her family had never spoken aloud. Maybe it wasn't just a monument. Maybe it was a message waiting just for her. Welcome to Saved by Tales. Before we begin this powerful tale of silent loyalty and family history, tell me in the comments, is there a monument or place in your town that holds special meaning for you or your family? And if you believe stories like this deserve to be remembered, hit that subscribe button, like and share. The war monument stood at the very center of Ava's village. A tall gray column, weathered by rain and time, its surface etched with rows of names in neat, careful letters. To most people, it was just another stone. To Ava, it had always felt different. At 5 years old, she didn't have the words to explain it. But every time she walked past with her father on the way home from school, she'd slow down and glance at it, her small hand trailing along the cold stone as if it might speak back. That's how she noticed the dog. It wasn't all at once. It was little by little. One evening, as the sun set gold and purple behind the rooftops, Ava looked up from her usual spot beside the monument, and there he was, a large German shepherd. Black and gray fur brushed with silver, amber eyes steady as the stone itself. He sat right in front of the base of the monument, facing the names, not sniffing, not moving, just waiting. At first, Ava thought maybe he was lost. She tugged on her father's coat, her small voice rising above the quiet. "Daddy, look, there's a dog." Her father glanced over, then frowned slightly. Never seen him before. Ava knelt down near the edge of the stone. "Do you think he's waiting for someone?" Her father's voice was soft. "Maybe." But as the sky darkened and the street lamps flickered on, the dog didn't leave. He stayed there silent, like he belonged to the monument as much as the names carved on its face. That night, Ava couldn't sleep. She lay in bed with her favorite stuffed bear tucked beneath her chin, staring at the ceiling. She thought about the dog's eyes, the way they'd seemed, knowing, heavy, like he understood something no one else did. The next afternoon, Ava didn't go straight home after school. Instead, she slipped away down the path that led back to the monument. The wind tugged at her braids as she ran, her little boots thudding against the cobblestones. And sure enough, there he was, the dog, sitting in exactly the same spot, facing the monument. This time, Ava knelt down right beside him, her knees pressed against the cold stone. Up close, she could see the small white scar that ran along the dog's front leg, a pale line beneath his fur. "Hi," she whispered. "I'm Ava." The dog didn't move, but his ears twitched, just slightly. For a long time, Ava sat beside him, tracing her fingers over the carved names, until, all at once, her hand froze. There, at the very bottom corner, almost hidden beneath a crack in the stone, letters so faint she wouldn't have noticed if her hand hadn't brushed them. A name, one she recognized, her grandfather's. But her father had always said her grandfather's name wasn't on the monument, that he'd been forgotten. Ava's heart thudded in her chest. She leaned closer, squinting. It was really there, carved so small, so quietly, like a secret waiting just for her. She looked at the dog beside her. His amber eyes met hers, and in that moment, she understood. He wasn't just waiting for anyone, he was waiting for her. Ava couldn't keep it to herself. That evening, sitting at the kitchen table with her feet swinging from the chair, she traced the edge of her cereal bowl while her father read the newspaper. She waited until the quiet stretched too long and then said, "Daddy, why didn't you tell me Grandpa's name is on the monument?" Her father's hand froze mid-page. His head came up slowly. "What do you mean?" Ava pulled herself onto her knees on the chair, voice serious. "I saw it. At the bottom. Really small. I touched it." His eyes changed. That quiet kind of sadness people tried to hide. "Your grandfather's name," he said slowly. "It shouldn't be there." Her father set down the newspaper, rubbing his hand over his face like he was brushing away dust. "Ava, there's something about Grandpa I never told you." She waited, patient, like the dog, quiet. Her father spoke softly. "When I was a little older than you, your grandfather, he wasn't like the others on that stone. He wasn't part of the official lists. People said things, that he disappeared during the war, that he left the village." Ava frowned, but he didn't. "No." Her father's voice cracked. "He stayed. He did everything he could to help people. But back then, not everyone wanted his name remembered, so it wasn't carved on the stone when the monument was built." Ava's hand tightened on her spoon. "But it's there now," she whispered. Her father nodded slowly. "Yes, somehow, someone must have carved it later." The next morning, Ava was back at the monument before sunrise. The air was cold and silver, mist curling like ribbons through the square, and the dog was already there, waiting. When Ava knelt beside him again, she brought something, a small sandwich wrapped in paper from the kitchen. The dog sniffed it gently, but didn't eat right away. Instead, he sat closer to her now, as if waiting for her to understand a little more. That's when Ava noticed the scratch marks, near the bottom edge of the monument, fresh lines, like claws had scraped there over and over again. Her heart thudded harder. Had he been carving the name? It didn't make sense, not really, but in the quiet morning light, Ava wasn't sure it mattered. What mattered was that it was there, and so was the dog. Later that week, she told her teacher about it, and soon, word spread through the village. People came to look, elders who remembered the war, neighbors with quiet faces and folded hands, and the mayor. By the weekend, an official team came with tools and brushes. They confirmed it. The name was real, carved recently, but carefully, right where it should have been all along. The village gathered for a new ceremony. Ava stood beside her father as speeches were made, but she didn't listen to the words. Her eyes stayed on the dog, sitting exactly where he always did, still, waiting. And as the sun set gold behind the rooftops, she knelt beside him again, her hand resting gently on his scarred leg. By now the dog wasn't just a story in the village. People called him the monument dog. Some left food beside the stone, others tried to take his picture, but he never moved from his spot, except when Ava arrived. Only then would he stand. Only then would his ears twitch, his tail give that slow, thoughtful wag. One morning, a week after the ceremony, Ava and her father were walking past the monument when they found something new, a small wooden box. It wasn't there before, placed carefully at the base of the stone. Her father knelt beside it first. Ava stood close, hugging her stuffed bear tight against her chest. The box wasn't locked. Inside was a folded letter, the paper yellowed and soft around the edges. Her father's name was written on the front, in handwriting Ava had seen once before in old photographs, her grandfather's. Her father sat on the stone steps, unfolding it slowly, and began to read out loud. The letter spoke about things no one had ever explained. How her grandfather had stayed in the village when others fled. How he'd worked quietly, helping families, guiding people through the woods, even when others turned against him. And at the very end, if you find this, it means my waiting is over. Tell Ava the truth. Tell her it's okay to wait for the right moment to speak. Ava leaned against her father's side, and for the first time, her father cried. That evening, Ava went to the monument by herself. The dog was there, as always. She knelt beside him, and this time, she spoke aloud. My grandpa was really brave, wasn't he? The dog's ears twitched, and then, very slowly, he lay down beside her, his head resting on her lap, like he'd been waiting for her to say it all along. Spring arrived early that year. The air smelled of new grass and warm stone. Ava still visited the monument every afternoon. She'd bring her drawing book, sit cross-legged on the steps, and sketch pictures of the dog. Echo. That's what she called him now. It wasn't official, but it felt right. The name from her grandfather's stories, one no one had remembered until now. One morning Ava woke early. The sky outside her window glowed pale gold. She slipped on her shoes quietly and padded down the steps in her pajamas, her stuffed bear tucked under one arm. When she reached the monument, Echo was already there, but something was different. He wasn't sitting up. He was lying down, stretched out on his side, eyes closed. For a moment Ava's heart stopped, but then she saw it, his chest rising, slow, steady, still waiting. She sat beside him, resting her hand gently on his fur, and she whispered, "It's okay now. You can rest." For a long time she stayed there. The village square was quiet, only the sound of birds, and the wind through the trees. That afternoon, Echo didn't get up. The vet said he had gone peacefully. No pain, just quiet. The village gathered again, one last time. A plaque was placed beside the monument stone, in memory of Echo, the dog who waited, and the name he guarded. Ava visited every week, not because she was sad, but because she understood something now. Some heroes didn't wear medals, some didn't have parades, some just waited, until someone was brave enough to listen, and thanks to Echo, she always would.